Welcome to SGM Islam. Let's enjoy the dialogue between Muslims and atheist couple.
He does.
Not anymore, no.
Not anymore.
Oh no, not anymore.
So what is your belief now? Do you believe in a higher power, a creator?
Say again?
Do you believe in a higher power, a creator? Something that created the world?
No, right now I'm more like an atheist.
An atheist?
Yes.
So can you explain the existence of, or do you think about that question? How do we explain the existence of everything? Where do reality come from?
No, I don't have an answer to that.
Okay. Do you think there is an answer? Like I could not have an answer for something, but still there is an answer. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So we would say, for example, that you cannot have something coming from nothing.
Say again?
You cannot have something coming from nothing.
No.
Right? So for example, 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. Right? It doesn't matter how many zeros you add, nothingness will never amount to something.
Yeah.
Right? So we say as Muslims, is if you cannot have something from nothing, this universe around us here has a starting point, and there was no humans at that time. Right? There was, according to science, there was matter and energy. And matter and energy is not a conscious being, that it has agencies that acts. Therefore, it requires an external thing to bring it into existence. Right? So the question is, what attributes would you need to create a universe? Like if I told you let's create a universe, like what attributes do we need to make a universe like the one that we're living in?
Yeah, but you're getting to the question of the creator eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's...
No, I'm just asking, like...
No,
if,
but like the
yeah.
question is leading there. So if there is no... If the matter doesn't have agency, then there must be a creator who manipulated it somehow into making it what it is, and therefore it's a creator.
No, if the matter doesn't have agency, then it would require an external factor to bring it into existence, all right? And then looking at the universe itself, we look at what necessary attributes does it show. For example, and I know you're getting what I'm saying, right? Like you look at this bike, for example, say it requires certain things. It requires plastic, it requires metal, require knowledge of language to create it, a level of intelligence, assembly of material. Okay, these are attributes to bring something into existence. I'm saying we can apply the same reasoning to the universe because the universe cannot exist otherwise. By necessity, you need to have these things in order for you to bring the universe into existence, right? So without calling it God, because some people are not comfortable calling it God, whatever you want to call it, right? The name does not matter. I'm saying, what necessary attributes do you require to bring a universe into existence is the question.
Right. I'm not going to name the attributes. I think there's a lot of...
Some.
No, but...
Oh, okay, you can tell me what you want to say, yeah, of course.
For me, it's a matter of, I think there are much more qualified people to get into this topic.
All right, okay.
However,
all right.
other than me. I mean.
No, it's all right, of course. I respect that. But I think, I'll tell you something.
However, my point being that for me to make the judgment that because I don't have the answer to something, that I must believe in a certain religion and by extension a certain God is such a massive jump. Because even if I were to say that there may be a creator, let's say that we can all be agnostic or even believing in a creator, but not a particular religion, because what is to say that all the other religions are false, which is an argument that has been presented numerous times by Richard Dawkins and the like. So for me to say, because the variables that we see in the universe lead us to believe that there may be a creator because of, the way that these variables are acting, then therefore we must believe in a certain God and a certain religion is such a massive jump that that's just not something that I can do, and it's not something that I've ever been able to subscribe to. So that's my issue with
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But are you familiar with logical fallacies?
Yes.
Do you know what a straw man is?
Yes.
What is a straw man, if you can tell me?
It's an argument that doesn't necessarily hold up. You're using an argument not in a... It's kind of like an empty argument, if you will.
No, a straw man is where you create an argument that the opposite position does not believe in.
Yeah, and then you kind of try to pass it off as their own. It's like an empty argument.
And attack it, right? So in this case, I would say what you're saying is a straw man, right? And why is it a straw man? Because at no point in our talk, which was very brief,
I'm not
did I say...
to pass it off as your own. I'm just saying for me, I'm not trying to pass that argument as your argument. I'm just saying for me, going from that to the idea of believing...
And I totally agree.
Religion, it's very hard for me to...
And I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's why this was never my position, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't come and say, guys, you know what? There was matter, so let's believe in Islam. I never said that, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you that what you just presented is not rational because we need to take steps and we need to have logical reasoning and evidences and arguments in order for us to reach a conclusion.
Yeah.
So I'm completely there, by the way. And Richard Dawkins, I would say, is not a good example of presenting anything at all. I'll just say that humbly.
No, I'm just saying he's used that.
He says that. He says that, yes, all the time. So what I would say is this: I was starting with you a step by step for a reason.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, we can take a natural progression. That's why I said it's not God, because I'm proving it every step of the way. Is essentially what I was doing. So I was saying first, there has to be necessary attributes that we have in order for us to bring that matter of the universe into existence. And when we look at these attributes and then identify them, okay, we say there's something that is eternal, meaning existence before the universe, not bound by time and space, because the universe has time and space. Has a level of knowledge, because there's a set of rules in the universe. There's gravitational laws, etc. Has power, because energy, every atom of the universe, if you split it, you have a nuclear explosion from the amount of energy compressed, and the whole universe is energy. So imagine how much energy you need, right? So you would say, if you look at these attributes, then and brought the universe into existence. So something that brought the universe into existence has a massive amount of energy we cannot comprehend, intelligence, and not bound by time and space, eternal existing, or not bound by the physical time and space that we are in. Just to be specific, the time space continues that we are in, not the same way we are. Then what do people refer to that as?
Higher being, a higher
Excellent.
power.
So do we agree so far on the higher power? And then we come up to the next step, right? So that's how I was going to do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm never going to say something, okay, now you're a Muslim, let's go.
No,
Yeah, of course, right? So we start with that. And after identifying the existence of that higher power, we say, okay, throughout history, there was what we call prophets and messengers. There were men that walked among this earth, walking to mankind, saying that there is a higher power. Same thing that we're saying. But they said, okay, we're sent by the higher power. And then they brought revelation. Now, there was people in the past. So you could say to me, I could not see quote-unquote miracles that they've performed. So why should I believe in something I've not seen? I'll say to you, okay, very good question. Thank you very much for that position, right? And then I would say, we can show certain things as Muslims today, and we can use these things to come to the conclusion that Islam is true, because Islam presents evidences today that shows that it's for God. For example, I'll ask a question. Can human beings, at any point in history, including today, determine the future in an accurate way every time?
No.
It's impossible. Do you agree? Okay. We would say, looking at Prophet Muhammad, he existed 1,400 years from now, in the past. Now, he made a multitude of different prophecies about the future.
Yeah.
Now, these are not one or two, they're tens. Specific. Many of them are time bound. The exact time that this will happen. Specific people bound, etc. Specific action bound. Not a single one. Sorry.
Our friends are waiting.
Okay. So, okay, we'll finish here. We'll finish very quickly. All of them have took place the exact way the Prophet said they will.
Yeah.
Now the question is, and he said it's not from me.
Yeah.
He said, I do not know the future, only God knows the future. Yeah. The question is, if this is the case, and you can do your own research when you go, if this is the case, then would you then accept that, okay, that makes sense to say that this evidence that this is just one. This is evidence that this person is able to do things we're not able to do as human beings in this case. And that supports the idea that it's sent by that higher power, because that higher power is not bound by time the way we are. It can know the future and the past because it created everything, and it's outside this universe that we're in.
Okay, I'm just going to answer this my own way.
Go ahead, of course. No problem.
For me,
Yes.
there are unanswered questions in the world that I do ponder on a daily basis. It's definitely true.
Okay.
And I do believe that there may or may not be a higher power of some sort. But the idea that a prophet a couple thousand years ago, because I do come from Iran, so I am quite familiar with the religious functions, right?
Okay.
I have a very hard time believing, subscribing, having come from that culture and having lived through that, believing and subscribing to some of what I receive as stories. Now, please don't take offense to this.
Look, for me, you can say anything. I'll just be the same person.
I believe to be stories that have been written down thousands of years ago, and I'm now supposed to rely on those stories in order to determine a belief system, and then that determines my behavior in the future. I don't believe in that. I believe that there may be a higher power, but I don't think that higher power would require me to speak in a certain language or do a certain set of prayers or rituals on a daily basis for that higher power, or that he would exclude certain people because they were born in India and they believe in Buddhism.
You don't believe in that?
Non-believers.
Okay.
Or, what you would call kafir, Well, I'm sorry, I don't have the Arabic.
No, you're doing perfect, actually. It's great. You're doing well,
because they were born into a different religion, and so therefore they may be sinners. I don't believe in that, and I don't think I could ever subscribe to it. So yes, of course, there may be a higher power, but I could never make the leap to believing that just because there was a prophet who may or may not have done those things, predicted the future.
Yes.
Because I never got very far in my religious studies because I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't get down with it.
No problem.
He may or may not have done it, but it's not necessarily something that I could get down with saying that's the truth.
Sure.
Yeah.
So excellent. I'll just very quickly say a response to that. Very quick. First, we say as Muslims that we don't say thousands of years ago because Prophet Muhammad was specifically 1,400 years ago.
Yes.
But it's a valid critique to say I was not there. But we say we have manuscripts that are scientifically carbon dated to the time of the Prophet, 1st century, 2nd century, etc. So we have actual physical copies of what the Prophet said or how he lived. Quran is preserved just in the minds and the hearts of the people. So you don't need the physical Prophet himself because the content and information and the message has been preserved meticulously more than any other faith in existence, right? So no one is essentially saying just believe that they existed. All we're saying is that this content information is preserved. We're saying the logic checks out, the one that I've presented, which is that you need necessary attributes in order for you to bring something into existence. Just basic logic, right? For me to say I don't know, maybe it's true or not, I'll say this basic logic. For someone to say you cannot create something without the necessary attributes to create it. So all we're saying is like, here's the reasoning. Evidences are there. You can ask me for manuscripts. I can give you the names of the manuscripts if you like, right? Birmingham manuscript, top copy manuscript, Sana'a manuscript, which is 15,000 copies, right? Go to 950 different Qur'ans, right? And they're investigated by non-Muslim scholars, right? And I can give you the names, the books they wrote. They tell you this is the same exact information. You have no reason to say this is not Muslims, right? So when we say the Prophet said X, we actually have physical evidence as well as memorized evidence showing that these statements were made at that time. And we can see them happening today. So we're saying, using the reasoning that we agreed upon, that humans cannot know the future, this should be an evidence to accept that this person is a messenger. But that's one example, by the way. There's many evidences, but you guys don't have time. I'll be happy to show you many more evidences. You'll be surprised, right? So just do your own research, you know. And the Quran is there if you like to take. If not, it's up to you as well. You know, it's your guys' decision. It's a pleasure.
No, that's all right. Thank you.
It's okay. It's up to you. So, and I thank you very much for giving me your time. And I appreciate, I know I kept you for a longer time. So on my behalf, please, if you could apologize to them for keeping you. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice talking to you. See you.
Say you, O beloved, O disbelievers, I do not worship whom you worship, and nor do you worship whom I worship, and I shall not worship whom you have worshipped, nor will you worship whom I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion.
It proves that there is no compulsion in Islam.